Lions lose to the Seahawks 37-31. Man, this game was a game that the Detroit Lions should have won. And the fact that they didn't, you better hope that they win games on the road that they're not supposed to win. Like when you look forward at this loss, you're going to be like, okay, it doesn't mean much. It's 1-1. But when you look at it in totality, you're going to have to go on the road and play the Dallas Cowboys. They look pretty damn good. You're going to have to play the Saints. They look pretty damn good. You're going to have to go play Baltimore in Baltimore. That's always a tough task. You go play the Chargers. I know Brendan Staley is a total moron sometimes, but they can score some points. So what I'm trying to say is these games at the beginning of the season are absolutely they are huge. And next week's game against the Atlanta Falcons is just going to be the same because you can't afford to lose that game after dropping this one today. This is a game that the Detroit Lions should have won. And there was coaching decisions throughout the whole game that I didn't like. Ben Johnson didn't call a good game at all. Aaron Glenn didn't call a good game at all, and Dan Campbell didn't call a good game at all. So you had three coaches that weren't not calling the best plays possible. They weren't putting the best players on the field at all times. I look at Jameer Gibbs when David Montgomery went down. They're running Craig Reynolds, and I know everyone loves Craig Reynolds, and they think that he is going to be just a-okay. Guys, Craig Reynolds was on watching Netflix for a reason. So put Jameer Gibbs in the game. Why isn't Broderick Martin playing instead of Benito Jones? Like these are some of the things that I look at. And as you know, you probably lost Pascal for a couple of games, at least a couple games. James Houston might be heading IR. You're going to start to get some injuries. There's some points of weakness on this team, especially at the wide receiving core. I look at this team right now, and I think this is a pivotal moment for this team moving forward, especially with the Atlanta Falcons coming in with Bijan Robinson, a rookie that is just lighting the world on fire. He's doing a pretty damn good job with the Atlanta Falcons. This is going to be a huge game for the Detroit Lions because after that, you go play at Lambeau, and everyone knows that you beat them last time. But look, it's a brand new year, and you're going to have to go prove it. And then you're going to be playing the Panthers, and that should be a win too. I always go by the philosophy what Bill Belichick said when they had that Patriots dynasty. You have to go undefeated at home or nearly undefeated at home. Then you could steal some games on the road that you are not supposed to win, or you might win because the team is bad, and you're at 11 to 12 wins right there. So that's how the Patriots sustain their dynasty. Now, the coaching decisions, putting your team in the wrong spot, going for it when you should kick a field goal, those are things that are gonna haunt you in the long run. And I think that today was a prime example of when Dan Campbell went for it instead of kicking the field goal. And if I think it was the first half, that came back to bite the Detroit Lions because if the Detroit Lions would have kicked that field goal, if the game would have stayed the same, they would have probably won the game by 3 points with that Riley Patterson field goal. So, you know, when you look at betting spreads, like I know people don't follow betting spreads unless you bet a lot, but you look at all these spreads throughout the NFL, like it's usually like 3, 4, 5 points. It's never like 8, 9, 10. And if it's 8, 9, 10, you usually get a game like the Buffalo Bills versus the Vegas Raiders, right? You usually don't get like a spread like a college football game where it's 21 and a half, right? So every game that you play comes down to a specific number of plays. And I can recall a couple plays in particular with the Lions today. The fumble from David Montgomery, that was huge. The fumble by Amon-Ra St. Brown at the end of the half, that was huge. The interception, the pick six from Jared Goff, that was huge. There was also a couple huge plays that Detroit let Kobe Parkinson, which is their tight end, get loose. Like these are some of the things that you're gonna look at and you're gonna be like, man, if they would have just did what they were supposed to, it'll be a totally different game. Now the blame isn't just with the coaching staff because I feel like these guys that are the pass rushers, Charles Harris, Romeo Quara, besides Ian Hudson, who was getting held all game long, besides him, there wasn't much of a push from those guys. And your guys were going up against backup tackles. So we have a big issue with this Detroit Lions team right now at the 2 game mark. And when we get to the 4 game mark, we're gonna have a very clear picture of what they could potentially be. But at 1-1, in the way that they're not getting to the pass, they're like something's got to give, and there's got to be a new, there's got to be new things that Aaron Glenn rolls out with that defense. Now, offensively, I think they're going to be fine. I think they really do need a number 1 wide receiver. I think Amon-Ra, he's a great player, but he can't do it alone. Like you need 2 wide receivers in this game of NFL to succeed. So, look, wasn't a great game by the Detroit Lions by any stretch of the imagination, but I felt like they could have been in a much better spot if they used their brain instead of just being aggressive and making stupid plays. And also, you have to go back to like put your best players in the field. Like I don't need to see Craig Reynolds running in a crucial 4th down or in a crucial 4th quarter. I don't need him. Like I just don't. Now with Dave Montgomery potentially being out a couple weeks, this could be a thing where you have to roll out Jahmyr Gibbs. And to me, that's the best plan of attack because Jahmyr Gibbs is a mismatch. And the fact that Jahmyr Gibbs isn't getting the amount of play that he's supposed to get, the fact that Jack Campbell isn't getting the amount of play time that he should be getting, Malcolm Rodriguez should be getting more play in time. It seems to me like this Detroit Lions team and this coaching staff is outsmarting themselves. They are outsmarting themselves because if you just take a peek back and you go, look, we got good players on this team. We have great players on this team. They might be young, but we have great players. Put them in a position to succeed. A lot of times I think coaches and general managers and especially you see it in college football a lot where they always want to protect their rookies or their freshmen or whatever, and they don't want to put them out there. Well, sometimes if you put them out there, you get a guy like Malcolm Rodriguez. You get a guy like Kirby Joseph. This is what happens when you go through an NFL season. Like you're gonna have to have guys that step up, and the Lions are gonna need those guys to step up pretty soon. And look, I wasn't happy with the way that the Detroit Lions played today. I thought that the way that they played, it could have been a lot better from the standpoint of they could have played much more aggressive in the 3rd quarter. I thought when they got that pick 6, I felt like they kind of like took the reins off a little bit. But it's just a tough loss. But you got to look at it like this. If you were a person that thought they would lose the Kansas City Chiefs game, well, they won that game. They lost the Seahawks game. You're 1-1. Everything's in front of you still. You just have to make the right plays. The coaching staff has to make the right decisions. And I think this is a loss that should be focused on by Dan Campbell, by Ben Johnson, by Aaron Glenn, and make the same adjustments you made at 1-7 before we get to 1-7. 1-6 before you get to 1-6, because we know that Dan Campbell comes from the Sean Payton coach tree, and the Saints usually start off a little bit. They started off a little bit slow in their years with Sean Payton, and you're seeing the Denver Broncos do the same. It's kind of the way that they go. But we seen last year when you don't play your best football at the beginning of the year, it will come back to haunt you. So this is more of a warning because this Detroit Lions team has everything in front of them. They do have the talent. They're in a bad division. The Vikings are not good. The Bears are not good. And the Packers, they might be the best of the best. Like they might be around like the Lions talent level. I love their defense. Jari Alexander, Darnell Savage, Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary. They have a good defense, but we don't know what they have offensively, and they lost to the Falcons today. So that should tell you everything you need to know about the Falcons. They're a pretty damn good team, and Arthur Smith is a pretty damn good coach. So Dan Campbell has his work cut out for him because you cannot afford to go 1-2 and go to Lambeau. It's just not a good situation for you to be in. It's going to be a short week, so you definitely need to make sure that you make the right adjustments this week And Ben Johnson, it's time to get back in the lab, do some things, cook up some plays with Jahmyr Gibbs. And Aaron Glenn, I don't know what Isaiah Buggs did, but it's time to bring his ass back, or Broderick Martin, because you are starting to see teams. What I did like from the Lions, though, I'm going to say this: they kept Kenneth Walker hemmed in, and they didn't. They were positionally sound in with the way that he would consistently cut back. But for the most part, the Lions could have played a better game, and all the coaches deserve the blame, because when you don't play your best game and you allow a team like the Seattle Seahawks to come in there, and you the turnover differential is 3, you're down 0-3, you're not going to win many games. You're just not. So this coaching staff needs to take advantage of what they have, the players that they have, and put them in the best position to succeed. And hopefully, when you get to week 8, week 9, you're starting to see this team like full steam ahead. But for the most part, I wasn't impressed by the Detroit Lions today. I thought they could have played a lot better. I thought that the coach staff could have been a lot better. And if they would have won that game. And it's a sad part about this, but look, they're 1-1. Everything's ahead of them. You got 15 more games to go. It's going to be about how you come from this spot right now and how you game plan into the future, because there are some good teams there are some legitimate weapons that you're to come up against that you're going to have a great game plan for, especially defensively. Offensively, Ben Johnson, there's a lot of good defenses coming down the pike with the Packers, with the Ravens, with you could go on, but Dallas, like there's spots where the Detroit Lions have some players that some teams that they're gonna have to really go against, and they're gonna have to out scheme them, because you're hoping when Jameson Williams comes back, he'll be a number 1 wide receiver and take the top off the defense, but we haven't seen it yet. So it's kind of like you're hoping for him to be okay, you're hoping for him to be up to speed, but if that doesn't happen, you can't just rely on Jameson Williams. So I look at this game as this is an eye opener for the whole team, because I don't think they were focused enough. The ski mask talk, all that stuff. I didn't think they were focused enough. Period. I felt like the defense definitely wasn't focused enough. Offensively, they did a pretty damn good job, but Ben Johnson, there's some plays that he called that just they weren't working, and the personality he was putting out there, it just wasn't working. Like, I don't know why Craig Reynolds is out there, but it is what it is. The Lions are 1-1. They play Atlanta on Sunday, so they have a shot to go back at it. They're gonna have a short week after Atlanta with Green Bay, and then they're gonna go play They're gonna play Carolina at home. So they got some NFC South teams coming up, and a short week against the NFC North rival. So it's gonna be very interesting to see what the Detroit Lions do in this 3-game stretch, because this will be the most pivotal part of the season for the Detroit Lions. I am Joe Chapp of Detroit Lions News, and we will see you in the next video.